talk today about probiotics. Probiotics is definitely a hot topic in the news, especially in science and health, so I figured it'd be a good idea to learn more about it. What are probiotics? Probiotics are basically bacteria, but not just any bacteria. Bacteria that are able to live in your digestive system, and that means withstanding really low pH, a high acidic environment. So as far as bacteria go, that makes them pretty unique. Now these bacteria can have some potential health benefits, and this has been known for quite some time in regards to digestive tract issues such as irritable bowel syndrome or inflammatory issues, in Crohn's disease, and as well as diarrhea related to travel or diarrhea related to taking too many antibiotics. Having said that, I gotta tell you, once you go and you do some research, you're going to find that there is a lot out there. There's a lot of pros and cons, especially in the clinical research end. The digestive aspect of research is pretty well covered, and there's pretty solid, consistent evidence that having healthy flora in your gut is good for your overall digestive health. When you do research about probiotics, you're going to find a lot of information. Over the last decade, it's probably increased 100 times. There's been a lot of clinical trials, most of which have been related to digestive health. Those are pretty consistent in their conclusions. You're going to find some inconsistencies in other areas of probiotics and how they affect not only our dietary health, but even medical health for medical conditions, such as if you're being prescribed a lot of antibiotics and you're essentially killing all the healthy bacteria in your gut. So my conclusion that I take away from that wasn't that there's a definitive right or wrong or no benefit at all, or somebody's trying to sell snake oil, but more so that the clinical trials must be really difficult in order to provide information that it can be considered of clinical value. Clinical experimentation is really difficult when it comes to diet health because it involves diet, and diet is related to behavior, and behavior is not always consistent when it comes to people. So that being said, my suggestion would be is get as much information as possible from as many different sources, read it, and come to some of your own conclusions. Trust your gut, no pun intended. So what can probiotics do for you other than confuse you or potentially empty your pocketbook? Well, we all know that probiotics are definitely good for your overall digestive health, and that may even be related to immunity as well, because your digestive tract actually does play a role in fighting off microbes and other foreign invaders in your body. So having a good, healthy colony in your gut is going to increase your immune system. At least that's what some of the studies say. Like I said, there's also studies that have shown that there has been no benefit, but you must come to your own conclusions and bear in mind that this is a process. So going off of anecdotal evidence of your own personal experiences or those of people you trust, I would say that it does have a benefit for your immune system. Secondly, most probiotics, the easiest form to get probiotics is through dairy products such as yogurt. So in addition to helping to complement the colony in your gut already, you are also going to take on the other benefits of the dairy products such as calcium and protein. And for myself personally, who's recently become a vegetarian, protein is pretty important. And I also, as I've gotten older, have found that milk tends to upset my stomach. However, with the use of probiotics, that's not the case. I've been able to eat dairy products without having the stomach and gut issues that normally come along when I drink a glass of milk.
Probiotics. When people think about probiotics, one of the first things that come to mind is yogurt. So let's head over to the dairy. All right, here we are at the yogurt aisle. So we got a wide variety here. We got some Yoplait, got your Yoplait Light, got a little Dannon. You got your Kroger brand, your grocery brand, and then we got some specialty brands over here, which I will talk about here in a moment. Let's start by looking at our Yoplait. So, like with any other nutritional choice, one of the first things you want to do is check out your labels. What do we have? What are we eating? We know that yogurt can be a source for probiotics, but is it listed? Is it something that is actually an ingredient that the manufacturer is paying attention to? Well, let's look here. The ingredients of just a regular French vanilla Yoplait. We've got cultured, pasteurized, grade A reduced fat milk, sugar, modified cornstarch, kosher gelatin, natural flavor, vitamin A acetate, and some vitamin D3. You'll notice there's no mention of probiotics or a colony count or a listing of what strains of probiotics are utilized. One thing that is a little disconcerting is that the second and third ingredients are basically sugar. So you've got your milk, and then you've got sugar added to that, and modified cornstarch, which is sugar. So something to be aware of is you could think you are making a healthier choice by going for the yogurt to get some probiotics into your system or to help balance your system, but you may actually be adding more sugar in your diet than perhaps you want. I do here notice on the back of the carton here it says, you know, live and active cultures. That's great. However, there's really no description of what those cultures are, what bacteria strain was utilized, and that's pretty common when you are looking at your typical yogurts like Yoplait, Dannon. In fact, most of those strains that they're using to make these yogurts are proprietary, and they are unique to the manufacturer. So they may not even list it just for their own, to maintain their own proprietary knowledge. All right, yeah, same thing here. It's kind of unfortunate. So the second and third ingredients, we got sugar, fructose, and cornstarch. So we got triple whammy there on the sugar. So I want to go to look at another alternative product here. All right, so this, if you're going to go for a probiotic and you want it to go for yogurts, there's two things that stick out right away. Is one, what's really cool is we've got within this product, they have identified their strain, and it looks like here, if you can see, it's got yep, there we go. It actually lists the strain that they're using, and it looks like in this case it's a proprietary strain. The Lactobacillus casei is a type of strain, and then it looks like the Sharada is probably named after well, I just happen to know that's the founder of this particular yogurt brand. So what's nice about this particular brand is, if you looking at the ingredients here, it does give you the same thing. So we've got ingredients: water, skim milk powder, corn dextrin, sugar, glucose, pectin. So while we are getting more sugar, one thing that you are definitely getting are more probiotics, or they're looking for a probiotic count here. All right, so yeah, here we go, around 8 billion. That's pretty good for a beverage. Obviously, the sugar content is something to be aware of. If you'll notice, these are really small 2.7 ounce containers. Nothing like the 6 ounces here. So you're gonna definitely get less sugar and more probiotics. So I'd say that a choice like one of these, you'll see them often referred to as like probiotic drinks, would be a healthier decision, at least compared to your typical yogurt that is full of sugar but is not as nutrient dense. While they both do have sugar, the probiotic drink is definitely going to be more nutrient dense. So where else can we go when we think about probiotics? Let's look at cheese. I want to talk about cheese for a little bit. And luckily for us, that's just right behind us. Aha! Do.
How you doing? How you doing?
Good. Do. All right. we've got cheese. So, one thing to keep in mind is that, well, these cheeses that we have here, these are all your typical, I'd label them kind of like your hard cheeses, American cheeses. You got cheddar, you got Colby Jack, one of my personal favorites, a little hot pepper. One thing to keep in mind is that when these cheeses are manufactured, they are using, you know, bacteria that may at one point were probiotic, but they are aged. And so, and through that aging process, the cheeses, or those bacteria, actually perspire. So you may not actually have any active probiotics in any of these cheeses here that you see. If you're going to go for a cheese choice based off of a probiotic need or desire to have more probiotics, this type of cheese is not what you're going to want to go for. You're not going to be getting the nutrient-dense probiotics that you would expect from a fresh cheese or a soft cheese. And we'll take a look at some of those in another section here. So, where to next? We've talked about yogurt and cheese. Let's go look at the dairy department again. I want to go talk about, show you guys something that I think is one of the best choices when it comes to probiotics, and that would be kefir or kefir, which is basically a fermented milk. Let's see if we can find it. Well, sour cream. Oh wow! All right, so we don't even have anything here. Interesting. One thing to keep in mind is that when you are shopping, sometimes some of these products that you're looking for may not be in your typical section. So, for example, just went over to the milk dairy section, expecting to get some kefir, not there. So, you may have to ask, and you may have to do a little searching. I happen to know in this particular store that the kefir is in a whole nother section. They kind of keep it in a health food section, which is fine. It's kind of interesting that that's segregated for whatever reason. I don't know why. Interesting. Okay, so let's see. Aha, the health section. Here we go. All right, walk through the grocery store. Cool. So we have some other alternatives here to some of the typical yogurts that you see. These typically are flavored or not with corn syrup. Let's just kind of look at one of these. Here's you see, this has gotten popular in the last few years. It seems like there's been an uprising of Greek yogurts, or like here we go, Greek and chia. That's another popular thing these days. It's chia seeds. But let's just take a look at what are we getting here. Pasteurized milk. See, for sweetener, we got some cane sugar and honey. Definitely better choices than your typical yogurt, which is going to have corn syrup and yeah, cornstarch. What I do like about this label is that it lists the active cultures. You got Estrimophilus, C. Bulgaria, yes. You got your good old Acidophilus and Bifidus and Casei. So cool. We got 5 different strains in one yogurt. That's cool. Excellent. Let's see what else we got here. Where is our kefir? People are so rude. Well, there we go. I love this stuff. If you're gonna go for your regular old kefir, this is what you would go for. I would just recommend the plain probiotic. And the reason why I recommend the plain, because it has the least amount of added sugars. And you can flavor it up however you want. And it also, see if you notice here, let's see if we get that focused. There we go. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12 live and active cultures. And one thing to also keep aware of, see if this bottle's kind of bulging a little bit. That's good. That means that fermentation process is still occurring. We still got live, healthy things occurring. All right, so here's my favorite flavor. Actually, would be, if I'm going to go for a flavored manufacturer choice, it's going to be the blueberry probiotics. Bear in mind, this still does have quite a bit of sugar. Um, let's see, just even like 20 grams of carb per serving. That's a lot of sugar. Still giving you the active probiotics that we got in the plain, but if plain doesn't suit your taste or you don't feel like making your own flavors, then this is would be the next best thing, second only to making your own, which I'll talk about in a right. So now that we've done that, I want to go look at some supplements. Supplements, where are you? Let's see. Be aware. One of the things to be aware of when shopping for supplements is reminding yourself that this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. What does that mean as far as making your choices? That means that you need to read labels and get informed. All right. This can get kind of overwhelming. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. At least 15. Oh, there's even more. So it looks like almost 30 different potential products here. Supplements claiming to provide you with what you need in order to have healthy, what are some of these claims? Restore digestive balance, promote immune health. Let's just look at some of these strains. Right. Very cool. What I like here is they definitely list them all. Obviously, this is a proprietary blend. And then it gives you a content. Looks like in this particular place, we got 30 billion probiotic cultures. So that's the other thing to keep in mind too. So you want to have a combination of as many different variety of strains, and more is merrier when it comes to the actual amount of bacteria within the culture. Studies have shown that in order to be effective really requires at least 15 billion live cultures is kind of this typical standard for the quote-unquote good products. And oh, look at, they're even advertising that themselves. Imagine that. There we go. One thing to keep in mind is also shelf life. These aren't refrigerated probiotic products. You can find some that are. A little leery of these because, well, it's in a bottle and it's not alive, but it's alive. I don't know. I don't get that. It seems to me to be much easier to actually introduce probiotics into your diet through nutrition versus supplements. Now, that being said, supplements could definitely work for you if you're trying to, for particular health reasons, like maybe you've been taking a lot of antibiotics, or maybe you've got a bout of diarrhea, those kind of things. Then you may want to look at the supplements in addition to dietary sources, so that way you've got your bases covered. All right, let's go look at some of those soft cheeses I was talking to you about before. Yeah. What are we going for? Wow. There we go. Some freshly made mozzarella. Something like this is going to actually have more potential to have live cultures in it versus your your standard hard cheeses, your cheddar cheeses, as well as brie. This is another one. The soft cheeses will actually retain the bacteria a little bit longer than your typical hard cheeses. So yeah, go for soft. If you want probiotics, go for soft cheeses.
Early at the store, I was able to show you where there's various products to find that are probiotics in nature. One of them, which was the kefir. With the kefir and the yogurt, I talked about sugar content being an issue, especially if you are not a fan of plain yogurt or plain kefir. That being said, there's something that you can do. You can actually make your own kefir at home. which is what I have done. Um, you can buy they're called grains. They're not really a grain. They're basically a bacteria that processes the milk sugar. You can buy grains online. It's really inexpensive, and you can create your own probiotic cultures by making your own kefir. What are the advantages of that? One is this is just milk and grains, that has converted all that sugar, and all this whey here that you see on the top is filled with good, healthy bacteria that's going to go into my gut and actually have some benefit without the sugar. If I want to introduce some sweet, something I can do is take, some strawberries and maybe a little bit of honey and a blender. Bam! You've got your own bottle of kefir that you've made at home. It tastes better than what you can get, even with my favorite brand. It's going to have less sugar, and even if you are adding sugar, you know what you're adding to it. So less is always more, especially when it comes to dietary health. I feel like the more complicated you make it, the more unhealthy it becomes. And this is also an easy way to introduce probiotics into your diet without spending a lot of money. The cost of milk, the original cost of the grains, which continue to proliferate and grow. You can then take those grains, you can share them with your friends, and which I have done. In fact, I inherited my grains from my mom like a year and a half ago, and they're still alive. She got them a year and a half ago, and she was able to share them with me, and I've been able to share them with some friends as well. And that's kind of cool to do. But the cost-saving measure is huge, especially in regards to supplements. When you go down the aisle and you look at the probiotic supplements, you could easily spend $30 on less than a month's supply of supplements that may or may not work based off of their shelf life, based off of the quality control, their manufacturing, factors that you don't have any control of. What I like about this is you are in control of every factor, more or less. It's a real simple process. You have a jar, you have some milk, you add the milk to the jar, you make sure that the grains are in the jar and they can breathe. This is a sprout lid used to make sprouts. As you can see, you can kind of see through it. It's got holes in it. They also make little contraptions. It's getting popular where you can keep your grains inside this cage, and then the straw allows the oxygen to actually get into the jar, because you need that, so that way the fermentation can occur. And also just note, if you don't have that, you're creating a perfect situation for some botulism, because that's an anaerobic bacteria which can potentially kill you. So don't do that. If you're going to make your own kefir, just keep things clean. Get milk. I prefer whole milk. Some people like low-fat, non-fat milk. It all has its own preferences. It's basically based off of preference. I don't mind, and I like the creamy aspect of the whole milk. And for me, this is able to provide me some protein, as I don't eat meat, and as well give me some more calcium, vitamin D, because I always get the organic vitamin D milk. And on top of that, I am going to help maintain my flora, my probiotics, and that's what it's all about. So in conclusion, when shopping for products for probiotic products, make sure you read the labels, go for variety, go for high culture content if possible, and try to avoid products that are high in sugar, or make your own kefir, and yeah, you'll be set. Healthy gut, healthy life.